There's about a week left for all of you aspiring content creators to show me how much better you are at making videos. Get Sony Vegas Pro Edit 15 along with a whole host of editing software for a mere $25, and you can even choose where your money goes. I'm just doing a quick shout out for this bundle because every time it comes around and people miss it, they tell me they're disappointed that they didn't get it in time. Link's gonna be in the description and somewhere on screen. Let's move on to the video. Is Activision Blizzard going to dedicate more development resources to Overwatch? I don't even want to beat around the bush for too long. If you have not heard about the most recent blow-up from Blizzard, which, you know, after everything surrounding Overwatch and World of Warcraft, they really don't need. The long and short of it is that Blizzard has announced that they are going to take development resources from Heroes of the Storm and move it to other projects. That means that the updates for Heroes of the Storm itself are going to be slower, albeit staying the same in essence, and they've also cancelled their main eSports events for 2019. Now, what you might not know is that allegedly the people involved in those eSports events, including the staff and the teams, have not been notified of those plans until that very announcement. But of course, I am mainly covering Overwatch on this channel, so why on earth should you even care about that? The Blizzard community in particular has this huge culture with maining games. A lot of players of Blizzard games really mainly just play that one game, whether we're talking about World of Warcraft, Overwatch, Heroes of the Storm, or pretty much anything else you can think of that Blizzard has to offer. So that means that when something doesn't get updated regularly, then that is very frustrating. Much like in our community, our content drops are just very lackluster. People are saying that we get heroes way too slowly, maps don't feel great because, I mean, it's just one in a million, so to speak, where except for the arcade event where you can play that map specifically for like the first week of launch, it's content that you are not even guaranteed to see all the time. So really, maps, if they're not well designed especially, are not great content drops in Overwatch. And heroes don't really matter to everyone in the community either, especially considering that people love the idea of maining heroes and roles. If you don't play DPS, you probably don't care about Ashe in the same way that not tank players didn't care about Orisa and Hammond. Now obviously, if Blizzard came out and told us to our faces that, hey, we're gonna be supporting Overwatch less for our other projects and IPs, we will be pissed. I think all of us can understand this feeling. We already feel like Overwatch is being under-supported and should get more funding and more development, so it's not a stretch to imagine what it would be like if Activision said to our faces, hey, we're gonna be rolling out updates much more slowly for Overwatch now, and we're gonna be moving these developers to other projects that are undisclosed as of now. And I do think that there are right and there are wrong ways of handling that. Obviously, if you are a Heroes of the Storm player and you get so upset to the point where you send death threats and all the like, and you claim you're gonna boycott the company, I can't endorse that, and I can't say that this is the right way of handling that, but I do understand where these very strong types of feelings are coming from. Now, again, there are also right and wrong ways of handling that when you talk about it on social media, especially if you are a big personality with a massive following. And I'm going to be calling out two posts in particular because, quite frankly, I feel a little bit emotional about this, and I will get to the part where why I believe that some of these resources that are taken from Heroes of the Storm might end up in Overwatch, and why looking down at this as like it's not such a big deal from the Overwatch perspective is really the wrong way to go. Now, one of the Overwatch League casters has tweeted out the following: reading the HotS community reaction to Blizz pulling the plug on esports is ridiculous. If you love the game, you'll continue to play it. We played TF2 for years despite minimal development. They ain't shutting the game down, just committing less resources. Jeez. And he also added on top of that, I'm calling out plebeians saying they're blacklisting all Blizzard games because of their decision making. I'm calling you out and saying you dumb. And obviously, if I call out his tweet, I should also be calling out my own tweet, so you can judge that as you will, and I shouldn't examine myself from your public opinion in that regard. I've answered to that. You have to understand how frustrating it is for players to be told, we will be supporting your game less in favor of our other IPs. People are not going to react rationally as an initial response, especially those feeling strongly about the game. It does suck. Obviously, once you calm down, you thought about it a little bit, you might not be inclined to make posts like that, but it should be obvious that the initial response of a passionate community, and don't be mistaken, Blizzard communities are very passionate. This is kind of to be expected, that it's expected to be irrational, and you should take it with a grain of salt. Now, I'm gonna call this post exactly what I think it is. It is just not very well thought through. It seems obvious to me that he made this post in regards to the community playing the game, and he did not consider everything surrounding this announcement and the bigger implications that come with something like this. Because if you think about this approach that Activision Blizzard are taking here, it's not completely unfair to say that they might take this approach with Overwatch as well if it stops going as well as it is. And quite frankly, they probably have a very big incentive to fix the game as much as possible before Overwatch League Season 2, because who the hell is gonna watch an esports event if everyone already quit the game? Now, of course, if you are a player of Heroes of the Storm, then this is likely going to be upsetting you, and I understand why, but something that Brandon probably didn't take into consideration is how many lives this has actually affected. And I have heard some more split information about this. I don't know how accurate that is, so don't quote me on that, but apparently the players and the staff surrounding all these esports events of Heroes of the Storm were not told about this at all until this very announcement. That means that professional players and coaches and team staff and all these people overnight lost their jobs. And you may say what you want about having backup plans and making sure you can take care of yourself. These people poured their hearts into this esport and have the rug taken from under them. Without any further notice, they suddenly have no job anymore when they invested so much time and so much passion into something that they believe was going to be supported by Blizzard. But as soon as it's not profitable anymore, it seems like they just pull the plug and start supporting other things instead. That's not to say that companies shouldn't do what's profitable, because after all, they gotta sustain themselves to be able to provide the product that we want, but there's a right and there's a wrong way of going on about that. And as much as I'm saying all these things allegedly, think about it more as a concept. If these things are accurate, and Blizzard knew that they had to essentially shut down Heroes of the Storm esports for the year and take development resources from Heroes of the Storm to support other titles, then certainly the people who are involved in all these projects had a right to know about that in advance, right? And here's where another post from Aaron Atkins is actually much more, not only acceptable, but actually very outgoing towards the community that's affected by that. Sucks to see HotS go. To the coaches, analysts, and staff of the HGC teams, even though the medium is different, most concepts are transferable to other esports. If Overwatch is something you want to try, I'd be happy to help you make the swap. Our team's appreciated for visibility. Whether it's giving a crash course on high-level Overwatch or just making connections, I'm happy to assist. I wouldn't be where I am without some help along the way. Staff are extremely valuable to any esport. Hope everyone can find a new home. It's a frustrating thing to see something you poured your heart and soul to come crashing down. Keep your heads up, keep working hard, and it will work out. At the end of the day, no amount of I've been playing game XYZ for years with minimal support is gonna change the fact that, objectively, as a standalone case, this sucks. A lot of people are affected in both a professional sense, as we see with all the coaches and analysts, and obviously also the players, but the community in itself is just being essentially spit in the face if you think about it. Now, Aaron, quite contrary to Brennan, has actually thought about the implications this has from an esports perspective rather than just a community play perspective. And I want to make sure that you understand that I'm not trying to attack him as an online personality or onstage personality or even as a person. I'm really just using his post as a catalyst to talk about all these issues that somebody like him might not see immediately. Now, obviously, I don't know the circumstances in which this post was made. Maybe this was just an initial response to something that he maybe thought was kind of stupid. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter because it's not about him specifically. It's just about the idea of that post that is probably an opinion that's shared by a lot of people. Meanwhile, Aaron, on the other hand, seemingly thought a little bit harder about what that means to all the people involved in the esports scene and not just the general community of players who play it, who also, are affected by it in some way and it sucks, but people losing their careers overnight is obviously a little bit worse than your game not getting as many patches anymore. Now, the post from Aaron is really what made me think about where these resources could be going. We need to take some of our talented developers and bring their skills to other projects, Blizzard said. As a result, we've made the difficult decision to shift some developers from Heroes of the Storm to other teams, and we're excited to see the passion, knowledge, and experience that they'll bring to those projects. Now, clearly this doesn't only implicate, but straight up tell us that there are multiple projects going on that these developers are going to be split across. And I do understand that a developer that works on a MOBA is not strictly a MOBA developer. Depending on which part of the game you work on, your skills might or might not be transferable to other games. But I think it's not too far-fetched to assume that in light of the fact that Overwatch is I mean, at least from a community perception perspective, on a rough decline. And the fact that Blizzard has reached out to the community with a survey asking them what they do and don't like about the game, it really seems like they've decided to take at least some of the developers from Heroes of the Storm to help them fix Overwatch before Overwatch League Season 2. I mean, if you think about it, the reason that taking Overwatch heroes and implementing them in Heroes of the Storm seems so natural and so many of the abilities work pretty much almost exactly the same is because as a MOBA FPS, Overwatch just really offers itself up to the possibility of transferring these characters. Overwatch just has very strong MOBA influences that I feel like if you take those experienced developers from Heroes of the Storm, they might actually bring valuable input for the Overwatch team. And sure, we just had Ashe introduced to the game, who's a very, classic shooter type of character, and she has more gun mechanics than really anything else. But if you look at the game as a whole, it's definitely more MOBA than shooter. And that is why I'm assuming or speculating that at least some of the resources that are being taken out of Heroes of the Storm are likely going to actually go to Overwatch. It just kind of comes together. The poor state of Overwatch as a whole and the resulting community perception of the game being on a decline, the survey that they've deducted not too long ago to find out what players are actually interested in, and the pressing issue of getting the player base engaged with the game once more before Overwatch League Season 2 starts, which is a massive financial investment. For all these reasons, it seems very natural to me that they would be taking some of these developers and have them help with Overwatch. As a closing thought, I just want to say, while I know it's not very uncommon to shift development resources across different projects, I personally feel like for the size of Blizzard's IPs, their games have just been notoriously under-supported. So of course, if you need help on short notice with other projects, then shifting some of the developers makes sense. But when it comes to Activision's general approach of minimum effort for maximum reward, and especially the dispute they had with Blizzard specifically, you can't make a game the size of Fortnite with the development resources of an indie studio. And I know that this may seem blown out of proportion, especially because it seems like it's a very popular thing to be hating on Blizzard and every little thing they do wrong, even if it might not be a mistake in the long run. I definitely feel like that a move like this has bigger implications with the history of Activision Blizzard. If they were just willing to support their development teams more rather than going with this minimalistic approach of shifting developers over and over again, then perhaps we might be looking at much better supported games and a much happier community that doesn't end up so pissed about things like, do you not have phones? Even if you personally don't care about Heroes of the Storm at all, who says that your game isn't gonna be the next? And I know that this may seem outlandish at this time, especially if you're an Overwatch player, but remember, World of Warcraft used to be their biggest moneymaker, and then Hearthstone came around, and Overwatch came around, and suddenly World of Warcraft does not seem that big anymore. All I'm saying is that yes, I feel personally emotionally invested in this specific case, and it's possible that my bias may blow it out of proportion to a certain extent, but I also believe that this type of approach that they've been taking for a long time already just needs to change in general. And this is already everything I wanted to say in today's video, and I do want to mention that I know it seems kind of weird with the content I'm uploading on the channel recently, where I've been making this push towards longer videos, podcast styles, interviews, and group discussions. And then I also started making more unscripted videos like this one you're watching right now, but then recently I made another scripted one. I feel like I just gotta approach every subject from the perspective that makes the most sense. When I talked about the topic of Blizzard admitting to the poor state of Overwatch in relation to conducting that survey, I just felt like it made the most sense to script that video to make sure I get all the points across that I wanted to get across. But for today's video, because this is more of a speculation video than anything else, I felt it would be more natural to talk about it without a script. And when it comes to the podcast and interview style, obviously it doesn't make a heck of a lot of sense to script that because it's a podcast or an interview. It's just a fun thing I decided to do and see how it goes, and so far you guys' response to that has been actually pretty positive, so thank you so much for watching my content. It's definitely been a pleasure making these recently. But yeah, before I ramble on even longer, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to drop me a like on your way out if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you want to see more, and I hope to see you guys next time.